Today, Mr. Tony Monroe will be talking about the co-op and experience education at Waterloo. So hopefully he has some great, I guess, things to teach you about what's going on at Waterloo with the co-op program, and feel free to ask as many questions as you like. And at the end of the session, we'll go ahead and if we have time, we'll answer some of those questions. So take it away. Thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you very much for the introduction. So as was pointed out, I'm pleased to give you guys an opportunity to learn a little bit more about cooperative education and experiential education in general, but also some of the specific features of Waterloo's co-op program. And I think as a starting point, I want to explain the term itself. You are perhaps not quite familiar with what co-op means or cooperative education. And in many cases, when people talk about co-op, they just quickly say, well, it's kind of like an internship. I would say it is similar in some ways, but it is quite different in many ways. And so as we talk about this, it'll help to clarify how co-op is different from internships. Here at Waterloo, we really focus on preparing students for success after graduation, on preparing students for the future of work. And we do that through this combination of things, both in terms of the students as well as the programming and the one-of-a-kind support that we offer. This program is designed to provide students with an opportunity to gain the kinds of skills that are going to make them successful upon graduation. And so this is how we do it. We start first and foremost with the students that we attract. We tend to attract the best and brightest students from around the world. We have some of the highest admission standards of any university in the world. And what we do is we attract students who are both intelligent and innovative, but they're also very much curious. They tend to be career focused. They come to Waterloo because they want to study a particular discipline, but they're also trying to figure out how they can use that discipline to establish themselves in a successful career. And when you pair that type of student with our outstanding academic programming, you really do create an incredible base from which students can then transition into work opportunities. And what we do then is we have established over the course of 65 plus years, the largest co-op program of its kind in the world, with over 7,500 active employer partners, employers who on a regular basis advertise job opportunities to our co-op students. And then it's not just the size of the program that sets us apart, but it's also the benefits that students have in terms of the access they have to a powerful mix of support systems. That includes our cooperative education system, which runs the entire co-op programs, goes out, develops those job opportunities, but also provides students with insights through things like our Center for Career Action on things like career planning and preparing for the outcome upon graduation. We have a Center for Work Integrated Learning, which gives students the tools to enhance their professional skills. And with these areas within our university, this department really is focused on helping students to understand how to make use of our co-op program effectively, how to prepare themselves for it in terms of preparing a solid resume, being prepared for interviews. And then we use the research that's being done in our very own Work Learn Institute to continuously innovate and improve our programs. And so that combination of outstanding students being supported and being guided through an outstanding academic program, and then having access to a network of job opportunities makes for the type of infrastructure that allows students to really succeed academically as well as professionally for when they graduate. And what we have found is that this creates really talented graduates who are more successful at finding relevant jobs faster. They tend to get paid higher right off the bat, and they are better prepared to navigate changes in their own careers as well as industries along the way, because we know that there is always things changing. And so being able to adapt and adjust effectively is a key skill and something that Waterloo students in co-op gain. Waterloo has been so successful and has become a leader in cooperative education, not only in Canada, but around the world. And because of that success, many other universities in Canada specifically have copied our system and have introduced co-op. Waterloo was founded on the principle of cooperative education back in 1957. And as I mentioned earlier, we have developed, evolved, and enhanced that program since those early days, to a point where now we offer co-op across almost every single one of our academic disciplines. And that is quite unique. At most other schools, if they offer co-op, they only offer the co-op system of study in a small number of programs. At Waterloo, it's part of our DNA, and it's offered across almost every single one of our academic programs. Over 70% of our students are enrolled in a co-op stream of study, and that means that every single year there are over 25,000 co-op student work terms being completed. And that, to give you some sense of the scope of that, we are therefore twice as large as the next two largest Canadian university co-op programs combined. And so what that means is students at Waterloo are exposed to more opportunities across a wider spectrum of industries and roles, so that they can really search and find the types of opportunities that are going to be best suited to their particular interests. We have been able over the years to establish an ever-growing network of employer partners. These are companies, over 7,500 of them, who actively come semester after semester and advertise jobs to our co-op students. And in order to run a program of this size, we have to have a very large staff to manage that. And so we do have an entire department specifically dedicated to cooperative education and experiential education. And that includes staff that are both based at Waterloo and work with students to advise students and guide students through the co-op process and how to be successful, offering things like resume reviews, resume critiques, interview skills workshops, job search workshops, all that sort of stuff, as well as regionally based staff who maintain those relationships with companies across Canada and can help to support students while they're on their work term as well. So co-op essentially is about this cycle between classroom learning and workplace experience. The idea that when students start, they gain a certain amount of academic background in their classrooms, in the classroom setting, in 1, 2, or 3 academic semesters. And then after that, they proceed out to their first work term. They take what they've learned in the classroom, they have those theoretical concepts that they've learned in their early classes, and now they get a chance to actually apply that in the workplace. And then based on that 4-month work experience, they're going to gain experiences and actual practical insights about how those concepts are applied in practice. And they're going to bring that knowledge back to their next academic semester. And that workplace experience is going to enhance what they learn in the classroom then next time around. It's going to provide for more in-depth discussions where students can actually share personal experiences and how those experiences apply to the concepts that are being taught. And so there is very much this cycle of learning that happens between the classroom and the workplace. So along the way, students complete a number of different work terms, and Waterloo is known for those industry connections and for giving students a really great career head start. At the end of the day, co-op work terms are designed to offer the students an opportunity to land roles which are going to help them to round out their classroom learning with future-ready skills. On each work term, students are going to get a chance to get hands-on experience and exposure that, like I said, is going to enhance the classroom learning on the next academic semester. They're going to get a chance to explore new opportunities in different roles, different companies, and different industries. And this is where co-op is fundamentally different from an internship, because students are going to get an opportunity not just to get one experience, but are going to get an opportunity to get as many as 6 distinct 4-month work terms. So very much a chance to try different things out, to go beyond theoretical learning, by gaining practical insights. And because they're going to do different work terms in different settings, students are going to learn to embrace adaptability. They're going to learn to face challenges, to take challenges in stride, and to learn and remain positive even in the face of struggles along the way. That's part of the educational journey that is the co-op system, where you go from classroom to workplace, back to the classroom, back to the workplace. And by having that opportunity to do multiple work terms, students get an opportunity to try different things out, to see what they like, but also what they don't like. And that's an important component of the co-op process, which then prepares students to be successful upon graduation. I hope this chart helps to sort of give you an even better sense of the alternating nature of co-op, and the fact that as you proceed along this chart from left to right, you see there 4 distinct sequences of work and study semesters. So on the first line, FWS stands for fall, winter, spring. Those are our 3 semesters every year. The University of Waterloo as an institution operates 12 months of the year. There's constantly students coming and going from campus. So some students are at school while others are on work term. You see in that first line, the students do 2 academic semesters. We refer to them as 1A and 1B. Those are the 2 semesters of first year. 2A and 2B refer to the 2 semesters of second year, and 3A, 3B, 4A, 4B, so on. You see on the first line where after 1B, students would go out on a work term, then come back for an academic, then go back out on a work term, and essentially alternate all the way through. In some programs, you start on your co-op work terms as early as your first year. In some other programs, you have what we refer to as a regular first year, 1A and 1B in the fall and winter, and then you are off for the summer. And then when you come back in your first semester of second year, that's when you're going to start alternating between academic semesters and work semesters all the way through. But you see that fundamentally this is an academic system of study. So you always start with an academic semester and you always end with an academic semester. And it's important to understand that the co-op work semesters, work terms, are an integral part of your degree requirements. In order to graduate with a co-op degree, you must complete those 4, 5, or 6 work terms, depending on the program you're in. On each of those work terms, you will be evaluated by your employer, and that employer is a key component of your co-op transcript. Along the way, you are going to be required to complete a certain number of online skills courses, as well as work term reports. And those then meet your co-op requirements, which you then combine with your academic requirements to meet your overall degree requirements. When you are going through that co-op process, you are going to be going through the recruitment process for a work term while you're on your study term. So in the academic semester before a work term, while you're completing classes, you are also undergoing you're participating in a job search process. You are accessing our Waterloo Works job board, identifying jobs that you are interested in and potentially qualified for. You're applying to those jobs online. Hopefully you are then selected for some interviews, and based on the success in the interview, you will hopefully then get offered positions, and you will then match with a job through that process. And that's an ongoing cycle that occurs throughout that academic semester. Students are also welcome to arrange their own jobs if they so choose. In some cases, students have a network already through their parents or family friends or their own personal experiences where they can actually arrange their own job and have it recognized for co-op credit. That certainly can be arranged in speaking with your co-op advisor. And then after you are done your academic semester, you go out on your 4-month work term. You undertake that role full-time on a paid basis in whatever job that is, whatever industry. And then at the end of the 4 months, you come back to school, and then you would go back into that entire recruitment process again. So What can you be doing now to prepare yourself for co-op? Because in order to be successful in co-op, we know that it takes effort. And we also know that any type of prior experience is going to benefit you in the long term as you go through the co-op process. And generally for students, obtaining a job in their first co-op work term is the toughest. As they have one experience, it gets easier every time through the process. So what you can do now is you can start to build your resume before you graduate high school. Seek out opportunities to gain experience, part-time jobs, some volunteering, whatever it might be. Gaining experience, having something to put on your resume while you're still finishing high school is going to pay dividends for you when you move to university. Anything you can do to gain additional skills, certifications, things like first aid training, getting a driver's license, any other kind of certification that might be beneficial depending on the kind of jobs you aspire to in the long run. Look at starting to build those networks, your network of contacts already. I mentioned already through your parents, where your parents work, where other members might work. If you have a part-time job, speaking to your current employer, learning about other potential opportunities related to wherever it is you're working. Anything you can do now to start to build that network of personal and professional contacts who then might be able to offer you advice as you start to go through the co-op process. They may or may not even be able to offer you a job that would suit your needs in terms of a first work term. To the extent that you can, start to get comfortable with the idea of going through interviews. Practice mock interviews with friends, families, current employers. First step is always to write a good resume. And so that's where gaining any kind of experience now helps to build a resume. The next thing you need to be prepared for is that hopefully that resume is going to attract employers and going to get you invited to do some interviews. So start to become comfortable with the idea of talking about yourself and helping employers to understand how your background has given you the kind of skills that would make you successful in any different type of job. And then as you start to think about what you might want to study, it's also important to start thinking about, well, what kind of opportunities might there be for individuals who have that kind of academic background? Doing the research into what kind of jobs are out there, what kind of companies might be looking for people with the kind of academic background that you're going to be getting. And when it comes to going through the co-op process for the first time, once you're at Waterloo and you're going through co-op, for that first work term, it's really vital that you are as open-minded and flexible as you can be about the kinds of jobs you're looking for. Don't be concerned about the company name or even about the nature of the job. Get yourself employed, get experience, make the best of whatever employment that is and that experience is, and use it as a building block and a stepping stone, if you like, to your next opportunity. Because again, you're going to have 4, 5, or 6 opportunities of experience, and each one will build on the previous ones. And so the first one is all about getting a good, solid foundation. It doesn't matter whether it's providing you with particular technical experience. Make sure it gives you an opportunity to get exposure, a variety of different professional exposure, and helps you to build skills that are foundational to whatever it is you aspire to do in the long run. That's how these things in combination are how you can best prepare yourself now for success when you go to university into a co-op program. I hope that's provided you with some insights into how the co-op system works at Waterloo and how you can be successful at Waterloo. Here you have some additional links where you can learn more about our co-op program and our academic programs. And I've left you with my email address. By all means, take note of it. And if you want to follow up with any questions about co-op, I'm happy to share insights into that. It was the reason I initially chose to come to Waterloo as a student, was because the co-op program was going to provide me with the opportunities to see how I could put my academics into practice. And so I'm a huge proponent. I'd love to talk about it with anyone. So by all means, follow up when you have time. And with that, I'll end the show, and I will look to answer any questions that individuals might have about, about co-op.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We do have a lot of great questions in the question and answer section. I don't know, Tony, are you able to see the different Q&A questions?
I am. So I'll just scroll to the top. Does the university promote robotics in the engineering department? Certainly robotics is available. We have a mechatronics engineering program at Waterloo that certainly has a lot of focus on that. But all of the there is a robotics lab in our engineering department, and all of the engineering students would have access to that, both in some classes, but also on their own. And so co-op options for robotics, absolutely. Co-op is available, like I was saying, in almost every single one of our programs, so students can access opportunities from all of our different programs, not just in engineering, but across all of our academic disciplines. Are there opportunities for students to pursue co-op work terms internationally? So yes, there are. We do have a small number of companies who actively recruit from around the world at Waterloo. A couple of things, but I mean, those opportunities are certainly fewer than the bulk of the opportunities which are Canada-based and Ontario-based. But there are some international work terms posted through the Waterloo work system. Students typically also look to do international work terms on their own because they have some sort of a personal connection or some sort of a particular reason why they want to work internationally. I think the important thing to understand is when it comes to working internationally, salaries in many other countries for co-op students are typically significantly lower than they are in Canada. So, one thing to be aware of is the fact that if you're going to work internationally, you probably are going to be in a situation where you might only be earning enough to cover your basic living expenses, and you certainly wouldn't be able to save any money that might be put towards future tuition. So it's a great experience, but it might not be financially very lucrative. For the co-op education, which companies do Waterloo have partnership in order to give students the opportunity to work with those? So, I mean, as I say, there are well over 7,500 active employers. We are conscious, I will be honest, not to advertise those company names, because the reality is, as soon as we do that, other schools will come along and try to poach those opportunities away from us. And so we are fairly protective of those names. We have employer contacts across Canada, and as I said, in many other countries as well. And so, I think when students come, they will see the array of opportunities. But given the size of our programs, there is a wide array of private sector and public sector organizations that are recruiting students across a wide spectrum of fields and disciplines. Are there workshops or training sessions to help students prepare for co-op interviews and applications? Absolutely. And that's where the co-op, at Waterloo, the cooperative education department plays a key role. Every student is assigned to a student advisor, has access to resume writing workshops, resume writing tips, interview skills workshops, and job search advice as well. And students are all required to complete a series of professional development courses as they proceed through co-op. And the first one in that series specifically is designed to help students understand the co-op system and how to effectively navigate that system and to be successful in terms of securing employment through that process. Because it's important to understand, co-op is not a placement service. We don't place students in jobs. We seek out opportunities. We get those companies to advertise those jobs to us. And then it's up to students to apply, and to then companies decide who that is they want to choose to interview. Once student is selected for an interview, a student has to then obviously perform effectively in those interviews to then be selected for that job or to be ranked highly by the employer. What challenges do students commonly face during co-op work terms, and how does the university support them? Well, I think first of all, the challenge is getting a job. And so I think first of all, the support that is available to students is to encourage them on how to be successful securing employment. Once they get out into the job situation, they are employees like any other employee would be. And so we are there as staff members to help support students. The professional development courses I talk to, students complete those while they're on their work term. And so that, again, those are designed to help students reflect on what they're learning in the workplace, how to overcome challenges as they face them. So there is that professional development programming that students are completing while they undertake their work terms that helps them to understand how to address challenges and how to adapt to them, so that, like I was mentioning in my presentation, they learn from those challenges and they understand how to remain positive even in face of those challenges. The diploma for co-op education is equal to the common courses diploma, or is it different? So the academic courses that student takes, whether they're in the regular stream of study or the co-op stream of study, the academic course load is exactly the same. The difference is that co-op students then are required to complete a series of work semesters in addition to those academic requirements. And therefore they have both academic requirements as well as work term requirements in order to meet their overall degree requirements. So the academics are the same in both. How are co-op experiences assessed and integrated into the student's academic process? So the co-op experiences are assessed by the employer in the same way as you and I go through an annual performance review. Co-op students go through a term-by-term review. And that assessment, that grade that they receive from employer, is recorded on their co-op record. It is there for all future employers to see as students proceed through the co-op process a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth time. Each previous work experience is identified on their co-op record along with the overall grade assessment that they received. And that's not a percentage. That's things like outstanding, excellent, very good, satisfactory, or if a student does not perform to speed up to a basic standard, unsatisfactory. And so employers see that, and so there is an incentive there for students to do as well as they can on their work terms. What's the best way to balance the co-op and schoolwork? Time management is 100%. Absolutely, time management is going to be needed. And the reality is that Waterloo co-op students must have good time management skills. They have to be able to maintain a full course load while at the same time also actively undertaking the job search process. So monitoring the job boards on a daily basis, putting together a strong a strong resume, potentially, drafting an effective cover letter and adapting it as required for each application they submit. And then when they're selected, monitoring their co-op record to see if they're chosen for an interview, and then going to those interviews and doing the best time they can. It is a workload. We often say that going through co-op is like taking an additional course, and it does require time management, absolutely. How does participating in the co-op program enhance a student's overall career development? Well, fundamentally, it enhances it by virtue of the fact that students gain 4, 5, or 6 different work experiences. And those work experiences, in combination with their academics, help students to better understand themselves and what types of jobs they are best suited to, so that they can make a more informed decision when they graduate. They are better prepared to apply to jobs that are suited to their particular interests, as well as being better prepared to present themselves to future employers and make those connections between their personal background and the role that the student or that the employer is looking to fill. So that's exactly what co-op is all about. Is essentially it's about career preparation. The co-op program, it runs through the entirety of a 4-year degree. So how long is the co-op program? In addition to the standard 4 years, that's 8 academic semesters. And then in addition to that, students complete up to 6 work semesters. Just trying to, the questions are coming in fast and furious. Main courses that university offers a co-op. We offer co-op across every single one of our faculties. Almost every single one of our programs offers the co-op stream of study. Some are mandatory. In others, you have the choice of either doing co-op or or the regular stream. And yes, many of our students who were in the co-op process, they translate their final work term into a full-time job opportunities. Many of the employers who come and actively recruit from Waterloo are specifically doing so in order to recruit students to move directly into their company upon graduation. So they hire them for a co-op work term, and that work term essentially acts, if you like, as a 4-month interview, job interview, and then students often get job offers, full-time job offers immediately upon graduation. I think I'm up to speed. I don't know if I'm missing any here as I go through. Are there certain majors that require co-op programs? At Waterloo, engineering is 100% co-op, accounting is 100% co-op, planning is 100% co-op, and there are several, environment and business. There are a number of programs at Waterloo that are only offered with the co-op stream of study. Most, though, are offered where students have the opportunity to either choose to study through the regular stream of study or the co-op stream of study.
Did you get the one about the student who chooses to pursue a double major? Will that be possible for them to participate in co-op?
Oh, I didn't see that one. Thank you. So the double major is in some cases it is a possibility and still be in co-op. It depends on which program. Certainly in the Faculty of Arts, it's quite simple to complete the requirements for a double major. You're doing that during your academic semesters. In some programs, like in engineering, in math, computer science, where each major has a fairly prescribed set of required courses, it then becomes more difficult to actually also complete the requirements of a second major at the same time, because there's just not enough room in your schedule. And so I'd say, is it possible? Yes, you could do a double major, but it really depends on which two majors you're looking at trying to combine and how much time that might take. But yeah, doing that with co-op is certainly possible. And co-op isn't about your major. Co-op is just about the type of jobs you complete. So it's not like oh, do I have to complete an accounting job or do I have to complete an economics job? You are looking for jobs that suit your interests regardless of what program you're in.
Another one is, do students get evaluated in co-op programs and terms?
Yes, absolutely. So every work term, on your work term, you are evaluated by your employer. They assess your performance in the same way as they do all other regular employees, just that in your case, as a co-op student, you're there typically for 4 months. So they'd be evaluating you on 4 months performance, where, for other full-time employees, they more typically do annual reviews. But yes, absolutely, your work term performance is evaluated by the employer, and that performance becomes part of your ongoing co-op record. I see a question here, can co-op students transfer to regular? Yes, that transfer is quite possible. So a student starts in co-op and decides along the way that they don't want to pursue the co-op work terms anymore, and they just want to finish up their academics. That is possible. It is very difficult to transfer from the regular stream of study into the co-op stream of study. So we always recommend to students that if you're interested, if you're not sure, apply for co-op. Better to start in co-op, and then if you choose to switch to regular, you can after the fact. I see a question there. What makes Waterloo's co-op program different from other schools? Well, I think the first thing is that co-op at Waterloo is available in almost every single one of our programs. So it is just a larger, broader program than it is at any other school. Secondly, our programs are all designed to provide students a minimum of 4 work terms and a maximum of as many as 6. If you look at co-op programs at many other schools, this typical standard is having students do only 2, 3, maybe 4 work terms. So at Waterloo, students are going to get more work experiences, are going to be exposed to more job opportunities than they are at any other school. And then I think the third thing is that because we have been doing co-op at Waterloo since we were founded, we have a larger database of research and knowledge in how to effectively support students through the co-op process, as well as how to support students in terms of their professional development in terms of their academics with co-op than any other school, because it's not just about offering students access to jobs. It's also about trying to help students understand how those experiences are enhancing their academics and helping them to reflect on how they are preparing themselves for career success, both upon graduation and, in 5 or 10 years after graduation. Does co-op help international students obtain citizenship? No. Universities can't help students obtain citizenship. What happens with international students is when they get a study permit, it entitles them to both study and work in Canada. Those work experiences in a co-op program can help them to secure full-time employment upon graduation. Canada does offer something called a postgraduate work permit. And from that, students can obtain, move towards eventually getting permanent resident status. But the university itself is not involved in helping students to gain citizenship.
Another question, I don't know if this was answered. Does the student academic background affect, I think, their opportunities to get into the co-op program?
Well, certainly, I mean, the co-op at Waterloo tends to be more sought after than the regular stream. So generally speaking, the admission standards and the admission cutoffs for the co-op program tend to be slightly higher than for the regular stream of study in those programs where they offer both. So yes, your academic performance in high school does have an effect in the sense that it is typically harder to get into the co-op stream of study than it is to the regular stream of study.
Cool. I think two common questions that have come up is just about the flexibility. Does every program have a set co-op schedule? Is it flexible? And is there information where they can find specifically what that would look like for them for their program of choice?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the sequence in co-op is typically predetermined for whatever program you're in. So each program has has predetermined sequence or sequences in some cases. In many programs, there is a certain amount of flexibility where students can alter their sequence in some ways. But what it really comes down to is, first and foremost, students have to understand that co-op is about that combination of that alternating of work terms and study terms. So it's not designed to allow students to do more than, say, 2 work terms in a row, or to bunch up their work terms at the end, for instance. It's like, the idea is to alternate academic semesters and work semesters. But the exact sequence does allow for a certain amount of tweaking. And then at the end of my presentation, and I'm just going to see if I can quickly share my screen again, on that link here, if you go to that first link there, the top link, uwaterloo-future-students/co-op, you will learn, there'll be a lot more information about the co-op program and how it works and what students can expect from it. And thank you, Jessica, for putting that in the Q&A. Can co-op students do part-time? No, these are full-time. The studies are meant to be full-time, and the work experience is meant to be full-time. And yes, we have co-op opportunities in the area of robotics and mechatronics, absolutely.
Just skimming through to see. I guess the degree in the end, would it be the same as a degree you would get without co-op versus doing co-op?
Yeah, so the actual degree that students get at the end is the exact same. Simply that on the degree itself, it would say either co-op. Like if a student was in co-op, that would be recognized on the degree. But yeah, the actual degree is the exact same. It just would be Bachelor of Science co-op or just Bachelor of Science.
Okay.
on the degree itself. But then, like I say, on a student's resume, it's going to be that work experience on their resume that it's going to make the difference when it comes to jobs. I think that's actually an important distinction, is that many students and I think, you know, in some cases counselors, they think, oh, well, it's going to be all about my degree. I think the reality is that once you start getting some experience, employers are much less concerned or interested in what degree you have. They are much more experienced in what kind of specific experience you have. And that's really where the value in co-op is that it enhances a degree by providing you with experiences that are really what employers are looking for when it comes to graduating. I see the question is, do you get paid for jobs you do in the co-op program? Yes, co-op is meant to be paid work experiences. So on average, students earn, typically we suggest somewhere between about $9 and $15 over an initial 4-month work term. And again, the salaries, we don't dictate or mandate salaries. Those are provided by employers based on whatever the competitive salaries are in their particular industries.
This one's a bit off topic from co-op, but does Waterloo promote sports at the school?
Absolutely. I mean, there are lots of opportunities for students to remain active while they study. We have one of the largest intramural sports programs of any university in Canada. So there's lots of facilities on campus. I mean, we have two full fitness facilities, athletics facilities, indoor pool, indoor field house, lots of skating rink, gym, two full gymnasiums. Lots of gymnasiums, multiple gymnasiums, but like workout fitness centers, weight rooms. So there are lots and lots of opportunities. We run a whole bunch of intramural sports leagues, lots of health and fitness programming that students can participate in. So there is no lack of opportunities for students to remain active. I think the question sometimes when it talks about promoting sports is, it's important to understand that in Canada, there are no full ride sports scholarships. That doesn't exist, and certainly doesn't exist at Waterloo. We have some sports scholarships, but they are very small amounts, typically $1,000 or $2,000 per student, and there are only typically a few of them available for each team.
Perfect. I think we got all of them. We talked about opportunities pursuing co-op internationally, right?
Yeah.
We talked about time management.
Exactly.
Most recent one, is there a difference between internship and co-op?
I think absolutely. I mean, the fundamental difference is that an internship generally speaks to the idea that a student is only going to get one internship while they're completing their degree. So internship is about a single experience, where co-op is about multiple work experiences and integrating and alternating those work experiences into the academic progression. I think the other thing to be aware of, that in many countries and in Canada as well, sometimes internship also refers to unpaid opportunities. And so it's important for students to explore what is meant by the term internship, because in some cases, when schools talk about internships or companies talk about internships, they mean unpaid. And co-op is always meant to be paid work experiences.
Perfect. And I think we'll try to end up here, but there's one pretty good question. What happens if you get fired from a co-op job? Are you kicked out of the program? Can you continue going through the program? What would be the next steps?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're fired from a job, that is presumably then going to result in you getting an unsatisfactory evaluation for that from that employer. And that record, that grade, that assessment is going to be part of your co-op record, your co-op work record. It doesn't mean you're kicked out of the program. There is some flexibility within the co-op program that when a student is scheduled to complete, for instance, 6 work terms as part of their program, they can successfully graduate with just 5 successfully completed work terms. So there is some flexibility there for a student to miss a work term, or to choose to step away, or in a worst case scenario, be fired. But understand that if you're fired, that record is going to show on your ongoing employment record. It's going to obviously have a negative impact on future opportunities. And so students were going to need to be able to explain what happened, why. And if they can do that, then it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be unsuccessful getting another job. But obviously, that's part of the reason why it's so important that students do the best they can on their work term. It's like if you take a course, if you fail a course, you've got to retake the course. Well, if you fail a job, that's always going to be on your record, and you need to be able to explain why that happened and what did you learn from that experience and why won't that happen again. And the jobs for us are mostly Ontario and Canada based, but they are all across the country. And like I say, we do have a certain number of international employers who also actively recruit from Waterloo.
Awesome. I think that's it for most of our questions. I think everything's been answered. And I think we're out of time now, but thank you so much,
My
Mr.
pleasure.
Tony Monroe. It's been great. Definitely great questions that the students had, and I really hope it was insightful for them, and definitely explores a lot more opportunities for them. But yeah, so at this point, we'll end here. If there's any final things you'd like to say, feel free to.
No, thank you for joining me, and thank you for those insightful questions. I appreciate it, and I hope I've done a good job of clarifying sort of how co-op works. I hope I've inspired you to understand and appreciate how valuable it is, how much it enhances a student's academics, and I hope that as you work with students that you will point them towards Waterloo, and if not Waterloo, then co-op at another school, because the system itself makes a ton of sense and really does provide the best possible platform for students to succeed upon graduation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Bye, everyone. Good luck
Thank
in
you
your
very
next
much.
workshops, and thank you again for coming. It was very insightful.